G'day guys, so I've just finished rolling one of the runes that I pulled out of the current cookie event that we've got going on. I thought this would be a really good opportunity for me to collect the rest of the runes, see how they all roll, so maybe you guys can compare to see how your ones roll, but also take this opportunity to show you guys exactly how I'm going to be maximizing these runes in terms of gems and grinds that I'm going to be putting on them, just to squeeze out as much efficiency as we can. So let's just quickly jump over to the events page. Okay, so if we come down to the Espresso Cookie Magic Shop here, you can see that these are the 5 runes that they're going to give us. This Violent rune up on the top right here, this is the one that I've already taken and that I just rolled that you guys just saw. So let's buy the rest of the other ones now. Buy all these out, go collect them, and then we'll plus 12 them all, see how they all roll. These runes are actually really nice. They've got great potential, and this will HP rune as well. If this does roll bad, that one there is actually a pretty decent re-up target. Same thing with this Swift speed rune. These are very easy re-up targets, so if this one does roll bad, there's not really too many ways that this one can roll bad. It's pretty easy to just sort of roll efficiently, but if you do get really min rolls into, say, like some crit damage and defense or something crappy like that, this one here you definitely could re-up as well. So we'll just plus 12 all of those, and then I'll go through each one of them individually and show you guys exactly how to maximize with your gems and grinds. Alright, beautiful. So as you can see, they're all plus 12. So let's just quickly go through them all one by one now. We'll have a quick look. I'll finish putting some gems and grinds on it and just show you guys exactly how we can get some extra efficiency out. This Rage rune actually rolled pretty well. Very high crit rate rolls for a Rage rune is going to be really nice. The attack on here is good as well. Got a max HP roll as well, and then we've got a little bit of an accuracy there. So for this particular rune, just for efficiency wise, we'll put the HP grind and the attack grind on, and then the accuracy is going to be the one that we're going to be gemming out here, and we're going to be looking to get probably in some speed. We can hold off just for now. This might become a really fat damage dealing rune, in which case, because it is Rage, you might want to put a crit damage gem on there just to squeeze out as much damage as you can. But for efficiency's sake, in terms of getting as many stats as possible, what you'd want to gem on here would be a speed gem, and then you can get the grind on it as well. So the potential 8 plus a 4, you get 12 speed on here, just to give you as many stats as possible. But like I said, I will hold off just for now because I don't know exactly where this rune's going to go. The next one was the Despair rune. So this one here didn't roll particularly well. We've got sort of 1 into each thing, which isn't usually ideal. This rune here, with only 11 speed, attack, and accuracy, for me, I'm actually just going to sell this one. I don't really have a use for this at all. If your one does roll a little better than mine, perhaps just 2 rolls into speed, and then we would have kept this one. The way that you want to go about this, making this one as efficient as possible, is you gem out the crit damage here for a HP percent gem, and then you'd potentially get the 11 there with a purple, and then another 7. So you're looking at getting an extra 18% of HP on top of this currently. So that would be my suggestion for rounding out the efficiency here. Now the Swift rune. So this actually rolled pretty terrible. You can see here I've got sort of a low-ish mid-roll into HP, 2 sort of mid-rolls into crit damage, and then 2 sort of low rolls into accuracy. In fact, 2 min-rolls into accuracy. So this one here has just lost all its efficiency completely. The crit damage and the accuracy don't really synergize that well together. Then the HP isn't the highest rolls, and then we got no rolls into defense. So for me, this one here is actually going to become a re-up target. But for everybody else, if this one does roll quite well for you, what you probably want to be doing is, if you dodge the crit damage, you're going to be wanting to gem in an attack percent over the top of that one instead, just to give you, again, just the more grindable stats, more efficiency as possible. If you roll really high into the crit damage, this then can become a damage dealing rune, in which case then you'd want to probably gem out either the defense or the accuracy, depending on which who it's going to go onto, for some either attack percent, or maybe you do need the crit rate. Ideal situation is you've dodged crit damage completely, and that's the one that you can gem out. But for me, we're just going to be re-upping this. So I've got a few re-ups here. Well, let's just put some in it now, and I can sort of show you guys kind of what we're looking for here. We're just looking for either efficient grindable stats across the board here, or we're looking for high accuracy rolls or high crit rate rolls too. Getting your accuracy and your crit rate on slot 2 is really valuable, because it just means that you don't need to look for as much everywhere else. And it just makes the builds a little bit easier for you. So none of these are really what we're looking for here at all. Okay, this one here is like not the best, but not the worst. I'll take this one. This one here can be a damage dealing rune now. We've got high crit rate, high crit damage, and the flat attack. So what we'll do is we'll take this one here, And then just to round this one out, we would gem out the flat HP here for an attack gem. I'm not too sure if I actually have one for Swift. No, I don't. Gems are very difficult to come by, but so for this one here, this now becomes sort of a pretty okay-ish damage dealing rune, not the highest rolls. It's really kind of like a weak purple rune right now. You could keep re-upping this, but I've already got plenty of slot 2 Swift, so I won't invest too heavily into it, and this one is kind of usable as is. So we'll move on now to the next one. So the next one was Will Rune. So you can see here, this one actually rolled pretty bad as well. We only got kind of a mid-roll into the speed. It looks like we've got 2 min rolls into attack, and then a max roll into resistance, but it doesn't really synergize that well, and it's really slow. I know people like to say that you kind of want to look for innates on all of your re-ups, but for slot 2, if it's a speed rune in particular, it's quite easy to re-up. You don't need to invest that many to get it usable. And then the slot 4s and 6s, because they're so hard to come by, you need so many more of those. As a sort of free-to-play player, I just don't collect enough slot 4s and 6s that have innates, so I do re-up these just to get them usable. So we won't put too many into it, but we'll just do a few now and just see if we can get a little bit of an improvement. There we go, straight away. That's already an improvement on what was there. It's a little bit faster, so it's kind of at least somewhat usable. And then the defense is there a little bit higher. So we'll take this one now as well. And what we could do for this one here is same thing. We can gem out either the crit rate if we don't really need that on the unit, which we typically won't, for attack percent. And then we've just got an efficient rune here. Well, by the time we grind this out, we'll have 19 speed, 21 defense, depending on how the gems roll, 17 or 18% attack. And then we can grind a little bit more over this flat attack here and just boost that up just to give me a little bit more flat attack as well. And then finally, I'll just quickly go back over this one here. I know you showed you this one at the start here, but I'll just show you how exactly I did gem and grind it. So this one here, I rolled crit damage on the last one, the 4th roll here. So we've gemmed that out for defense percent here, just to give me another grindable and a lot more stats. So 17% defense is a lot more valuable than 5% crit damage for me. So this is sort of the way we've gone for this one and just made it really, really efficient. And if you have a look, you can see here, it's my equal 5th fastest rune, but in terms of efficiency, it's actually better than this one. And it's probably on par with about this one here, but a touch slower. So this rune here actually does become my 5th best violent HP rune. I've been playing now for sort of 3.5 years. So still a really, really good rune because you do want to increase your depth, especially like I said, with your slot 4s and your slot 6s. Now, we also have the Madeline cookie shop here as well. So I bought out all the artifacts. We may as well plus 12 all those, see how they roll, and just so you guys can compare yours. Some of these have got the potential to be really nice too, but you know what it's like with artifacts. If they miss, they miss, and then they're sort of like not very good, but hopefully we get some good rolls here. Alrighty, let's have a quick look at all the artifacts here and just see where we went with these. So it looks like this one was a another bit of a rainbow here. Not the best, honestly, not the best, but this could go on a wind tanky unit that's going to be getting hit by sort of multiple things. Maybe a Riley or something like that. Having all minus damage on elements isn't too bad, but the fact we've got the 1 roll into the speed up kind of doesn't make this as synergized as well. But what we could do here is probably gem that out for a minus damage on water, and then we just make this a universal minus damage sort of thing across the board here. We could also go for potentially light as well, with water usually not having to hit wind, and we've already kind of got the advantage there. So a couple of different options. The next one here, how do we go on this one? So a support here, we got a couple of rolls into the additional damage by speed, which is pretty good, but not the highest rolls. It could have been an extra 80% on top of what was there, so we only got 65, so not the highest rolls. A couple of lowish rolls into the accuracy as well for both skill 1 and skill 2, so there's not too many skill 1 and skill 2 accuracy. Like, you don't really need that too often on very many support units, so typically probably what will end up happening is one of those will get gemmed out for another line of additional damage, and then I'll keep either the skill 2 accuracy or the skill 1 accuracy depending on what the particular unit needs the accuracy for. But this one here is kind of an average okay one. The next one here, okay, so this one here, we've had a couple of decent rolls into the damage from wind, which is pretty good, especially on a water artifact. They're going to be getting targeted by wind units, especially if you're going to be using this in siege. The crit damage as HP less, we don't really need that at all on this one here, so that one there we would probably gem out for maybe a minus crit damage, or we would look for maybe a minus damage or something else, or just a line of additional damage or something like that. The next one here, we have our attack one here. So you can see again, this one's actually not too bad. Again, we got a double roll into the additional by speed, which is pretty good. A little bit higher rolls this time as well, so that's not too bad. The skill 2 accuracy, so this one here I would just have to find a damage dealing unit that's sort of like a multi-hitter that also needs some skill 2 accuracy. Something like a Shiho, where he a little bit of extra accuracy for his stun, maybe an Ethna, a little bit of extra accuracy for her defense break on skill 2, and both of them being multi-hitters. They're sort of the two that I use that sort of come to mind immediately. And then the skill 1 accuracy here, that could be useful. Most things these days do have something on their skill 1, but I would probably gem that out for another line of additional damage, just to squeeze as much damage out as we can on this one. The next one here, okay, so we got another double roll into the additional damage by speed here. That's actually pretty good again, right? Like, this is kind of what we're looking for. A little bit lower rolls on this one, not the best, but we did pick up a minus damage from water. Again, another low roll, which is not ideal, but it's not too bad. Again, being a fire artifact, we're going to be targeted by the water, so having an extra roll to minus damage from water on that one isn't too bad. The new line of the damage taken from light, so that's not too bad again, because it just makes this sort of like a bit of a tanky minus damage across the board here, just to try and help whatever unit we put this on to survive, as well as a little bit of the additional damage too. So it's like, would be okay on any sort of multi-hitter tanky type thing. You know what, this could actually go on, like, let's say like a Swift Bird. It's nothing crazy for that, but the additional damage by speed on a Swift Bird is pretty good. The damage taken from water is pretty good. And then what we'd end up probably doing here is getting rid of the damage taken from light and potentially put on like a minus damage from fire, just to help it survive a little bit longer against things like Marsha and stuff like that. Just one more quick thing before we go, guys. Once you've finished buying out everything in all the shops here that you're kind of looking for, you can see here that I'm leaving some. I do enough R5 that I don't need these grinds. These gems I don't really want either, so I'll be leaving all of those. So once you've finished buying out everything that you are looking for in the shop, and then you're coming down to the infinite shop down the bottom here, what I would really recommend for you guys, if you are very, very early game, you can potentially pick up some of the runes. If you're not up to the point where you're sort of farming artifacts, you can potentially look at some of those. If you need some grinds to maybe get into R5 or something like that, you can probably look at grinds. So if you're early game and you kind of don't have anything, well then maybe, yeah, you do want to pick up a bit of a mix of some things here. If you are mid to late game and you already have all your dungeon teams up and running, so you're already able to farm runes, you're already able to farm your artifacts, and you're already able to farm R5, well then what I strongly recommend to all of you guys is you only buy the gems. The gems are the hardest thing to come by here. If you do a lot of R5, you know that gems don't drop anywhere near as much as grinds, so they're rarity and they're much more valuable than everything else here. Gems, 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 that's the most efficient thing, and that's the only one here that you want to buy. But anyway, boys, that's it for me today, so thanks very much for watching. Let me know in the comments below how your runes rolled. Good luck, hopefully you get something really nice, and maybe the artifacts too, and I'll see you in the next one.